For some women, the only marriage vow worth obeying is till death do us part.
Give up this ungodly behavior.
A shamed wife takes the moral high ground.
Continue.
She would have been mortified by her husband's behavior.
A bustling housewife whips up a recipe for riches.
Eat this thing.
It has no taste, but it's imminently lethal.
You need him to sign this.
And greed drives two women to forge a fatal bond.
She really didn't care who she had to target to keep that income coming in.
When these deadly women marry, they're not hoping for happily ever after. They are brutal brides. The late 1800s. In the wealthy farmlands of Santa Ana, California, 27-year-old Katie Cook marries the man of her dreams.
I now pronounce you man and wife. You may kiss the bride.
They seem to be a very loving couple.
Her husband, a recent widower, is one of the county's finest gentlemen.
Tom Cook is a very wealthy man who has land which is producing a good deal of revenue.
And Katie makes the ideal bride.
She grew up in Orange County. Her father was also a prominent rancher and farmer in the peatlands west of Santa Ana.
I don't think she knows who she's marrying.
To the outside world, they look like a very well-to-do, upper-class couple.
But this refined country gent is not all he seems. Tom doesn't want his new wife to lift a finger.
Tom hires many women to work on the ranch.
For what we are about to receive, may the Lord make us truly grateful. Amen.
Amen.
In this good Christian household, the Lord and Master has more basic desires.
Would you like some, sir?
Oh, yeah.
This is the kind of guy you want to keep your teenage girls away from.
So the work went well on the farm today?
Oh, yeah. We were very, very hard.
He is a threat to the moral virtue of young women.
Move along, Magda. Yes, madame.
At first, Katie tries to turn a blind eye.
For Katie, to be the head of a good Christian household was everything. But because of Tom, she couldn't be that.
Her husband's twisted tastes go further than a roving hand.
There is a lust in man no charm can tame.
Tom is addicted to 19th century pornography.
Virtuous actions are born and die.
He loves dirty poetry.
When a man loves a woman in haystacks high.
Tom's reading material was a source of extreme shame and embarrassment to Katie, and she wanted no part of it.
His leg, her leg.
It was definitely a sleazy situation.
One beautiful mind upon a mind.
In this conservative community, a wife without virtue is an outcast.
Women are held as very saintly people on pedestals, doing what needs to be done to make a Christian marriage work. And if it's not working, it's their fault.
Katie was so upset over her husband's behavior and the type of marriage that she found herself in that she started losing weight, not sleeping, and was crying a lot. These are all signs of a very, very anxious and depressed young woman.
Tom pays no heed. He drags his wife even deeper into his perversion.
He brought in a German servant girl and had her strip in front of both Tom and Katie.
Magda. Shut up, woman.
And this, of course, horrified Katie.
Continue.
At a time when a man's word is law, Tom's wife and servants are at his mercy.
Sit down.
Divorce wasn't really an option. And being a younger woman with no means, where was she going to go?
Stripped of her last shred of dignity, Katie knows there's only one way to free herself from this sinful cycle.
Tom degraded Katie over and over. Eventually, that was bound to get to her. And it did.
(1899), Santa Ana, California. Brash womanizer Tom Cook has caused a stir in this conservative town.
Gone too far, Tom Cook. Slandering my wife, ruining her good reputation.
Her reputation was ruined the day she married you.
He's dangerous for any woman in terms of her morality.
When he slanders his neighbor Jack Grisby's wife, Jack sees red. But Tom's sharp tongue is matched by his sharp shooting.
He was doing it a lot for his own titillation. The impact of that was his reputation in the community was deeply soiled.
Should not have drawn against me, Jack.
Well, Jack died the next day, and Tom turned himself into the authorities.
Tom Cook is charged with murder.
Based on the fact that Jack actually had a gun and did try to draw it, it was considered self-defense.
The powerful landowner gets off scot-free.
How do you expect me to live like this?
It's the last straw for his long-suffering wife, Katie.
I beg of you to give up this ungodly behavior. Renounce yourself and you will be forgiven.
She tried to persuade him to change his evil ways, to come back into their marriage and forgo these other women.
And resign myself to your frigid little ways. I will have any woman I want. Whenever I want!
The man was the king of his castle. What he said and the way he wanted it was the way it usually went.
Tom wants more than one maiden in this castle.
Didn't think she was gonna let you come.
Don't worry about her.
He starts an affair with servant Mabel Moody. While his wife listens in.
She would have been mortified by her husband's behavior.
August 28th, 1899. Once again, Tom returns from Mabel's chambers and enjoys the sleep of the righteous.
Mabel Moody is a catalyst. This is the precipitating fact of her going off the edge.
Katie had had enough. Without saying a word, she approached her husband, point blank, point the gun at his head.
A single bullet finally ends her husband's depravity.
Katie Cook was a woman pushed over the edge by a vile, philandering husband.
Ranch hand Jim Barton quickly takes charge.
Best to give me the revolver, Katie.
You took him. You took him from me.
Katie lays the blame on Tom's new lover.
She accused Mabel of ruining the marriage and being the cause of the tragedy.
The only way she could leave the marriage was through death of either her or her husband. Katie won that argument.
Katie Cook is arrested and charged with murder.
She, in fact, confessed, but at that point, she has no more recollection.
In her case, it may be true. She was probably temporarily insane when she killed Tom.
For the prosecution, it's an open and shut case.
I've got the gun, I've got a dead man, and I've got a confession. Pretty simple. Pretty simple.
But in the eyes of this God-fearing community, Katie was simply freeing herself from an immoral man.
Oh, sir.
It definitely was no gray area in this. It was definitely black and white. Tom was bad, Katie was good.
He's an enemy of the community. And Katie did us a big favor.
The jury deliberates for just 15 minutes to find Katie Cook not guilty of murder.
The verdict's not guilty, rather than not guilty by reason of insanity. They just step up and say, no, Tom Cook deserves to die.
When Katie returns to her farm, she finds comfort in the arms of loyal ranch hand Jim Barton.
They became an item quite soon after the acquittal.
Seems Katie is just as smitten with the servants as her dead husband.
Katie ended up marrying Barton, raising suspicions in the community of something going on.
to my glorious wife and a bright future together.
Because the Pete Ranch was extremely valuable.
To this day, the folk of Santa Ana wonder, did she kill to escape her depraved marriage? Or was Katie Cook a calculating, deadly woman?
I don't know. It's a lot of questions will never be answered. But bottom line is I think that Katie did get away with murder.
Thank you.
When a woman loves money,
I mean, this was a way to enrich her own holdings.
You don't look so good.
more than marriage,
I don't think she liked him.
husbands better watch out.
She hurt someone she was taking care of, and she did it over and over again.
(1981), Louisville, Kentucky. Newlyweds Pauline and Luther Rogers are celebrating a fresh start together.
You look happy together. Yeah, I lucked out.
They lived in a upper middle class neighborhood.
Time for dinner.
She was not denied anything that a woman would want or need in a marital situation.
No. Here.
Okay.
Thank you.
45-year-old Pauline is the perfect hostess.
Now you wait till y'all taste the food.
Attractive, charming, and a whiz in the kitchen.
Bon appetit.
Luther saw in Pauline what everybody else saw in Pauline, a sweet, loving, devoted wife.
Well, you did not lie, Luther. This is delicious.
Luther discovers Pauline's not just a good cook. She has a green thumb. But within months, all is not well in this Garden of Eden.
Home.
Luther falls ill.
You don't look so good.
Think I got flu.
In a short period of time, he went from a very alive person to frail and hobbling along.
I'll get you something.
Pauline does her best to care for Luther at home.
He had been complaining of stomach aches, and there are remedies through drugstores and so forth available, and she obviously bought those for him so that it would coat his stomach, make him feel better.
But her husband goes downhill fast.
He could pursue no other usual activities in his life as he became progressively more wasted and incapacitated.
The only way she knows to soothe his sickness is with Luther's favorite dessert, strawberry ice cream.
One would get the picture that she's a doting wife and trying to ease some health difficulty he had.
For Pauline, it's a painful reminder of her past. Five years earlier, her last husband, Morris, was plagued by similar symptoms.
He was a fairly healthy person of his age.
Hey, Johnny.
He was not a person who had been struck with illnesses over his years.
Despite Pauline's constant care, Morris is admitted into the hospital.
Physicians could not understand the constellation of his symptoms.
The devoted wife maintains a bedside vigil.
It's so sad. She hasn't left his side.
Now, her next husband, Luther, is also in the hospital, with Pauline refusing to leave his side.
Don't worry. We'll find out what's wrong with him.
But behind this caring smile lies a sinister soul.
Pauline had a lot of people fooled. Neighbors, doctors, and especially her husbands. But she wasn't what she seemed.
1982, Louisville, Kentucky. Devoted wife Pauline Rogers watches helplessly as her 40-year-old husband Luther withers away.
He was just cramping and doubling up, virtually on the brink of death.
Can't the doctor do something?
He's run some tests. He's getting us to run some more.
Because of his appearance and the abnormalities in all sorts of organ systems, a huge number of tests would have been employed.
I bought ice cream. Can he have any?
Yeah, that's fine. He'll probably enjoy that.
Pauline knows exactly how to calm her ailing husband. His favorite treat.
The picture of a very attentive wife in front of health caregivers in hospital is one that's repeated.
On May 18th, 1982, Luther's test results come back.
The urine testing that was done in the toxicology laboratory showed really astronomical quantities of urinary arsenic, indicating that his tissues were saturated and the body was doing the best it could to excrete it out. He was loaded with arsenic.
You've been poisoned.
The last thing that a doctor ever thinks of is that the patient was poisoned.
Who would do this to you?
The hospital alerts authorities.
This triggered an investigation of previous social events, including previous marriages of Pauline Rogers.
Could be any time now.
What they find is that Pauline's last husband, Morris Amos, died of a mysterious illness.
We decided to exhume the first husband's body and get the coroner to do an autopsy to find out the cause of death. The cause of death was poison.
Morris was a generous husband in life, even more so in death.
Benefits from a life insurance policy, benefits from property, which was in the marital name.
This was a financial gain for her.
Police wonder how two men could be poisoned under the noses of medical staff.
She had to continue the poisoning in the hospital if she was going to be effective as a murderer.
The answer lies in a hospital wastebasket. An ice cream container laced with arsenic.
That may have been an oversight on her part, but it also could have been arrogance. She had gotten away with poisoning for so long, she stopped worrying about getting caught.
Pauline's been combining her two passions, cooking and gardening.
At that time, there was a readily available commercial product that was an insecticide. The purpose was to kill ants and other insects. And the toxic substance contained in it was arsenic. It has no aroma, it has no taste, but it's eminently lethal.
Lucky for Pauline, both husbands had a sweet tooth.
Eat this then.
Most people love ice cream. He anxiously ate the ice cream, not knowing that the poison was there. That was a very methodical, very vicious way of killing.
When people looked at Pauline, they saw a sweet, dutiful, devoted, nursing wife, because that's what they wanted to see. They didn't see a deadly woman.
In 1983, Lucy Pauline Rogers pleads guilty to the murder of her third husband, Morris Lee Amos. She receives 20 years in prison.
I think Pauline will be a danger to society if she gets out and goes into the food preparation business.
When it comes to serial poisoners, eventually, no one around them is truly safe.
She is also convicted of the attempted murder of Luther Rogers and receives an additional 20 years.
Had he lived much longer, especially with the attentiveness of his poisoning wife, he certainly would have died.
The overt symptoms that he had after enduring all of this poisoning was that he was confined to a wheelchair. He was a frail individual. Literally, he had been a changed person overnight.
He is now terminally tortured.
Pauline Rogers' pitiless greed spawned some good. Hospitals in Louisville have since introduced strict rules to report suspected poisonings.
Pauline probably would know that she has helped to save people's lives from poisoning because we now have stronger protocols that will stop that in the future.
Some women believe in magic.
She would select a man who she thought could support her financially.
A sprinkle of secret potion.
She was a skilled con woman.
What, you started without me?
And all their headaches are gone.
Her nickname, Kiss of Death, was a well-deserved nickname.
(1934), South Philadelphia. 37-year-old Rose Karina is a blushing bride. Again.
Rose married for the fourth time. This time she selected a wealthy man who owned a grocery store.
Rose has been unlucky in love. but hopes Peter's stay will be the one. Peter couldn't be happier.
He needed someone. A man needs a woman. She was a great cook. She was a great homemaker, and he thought she would be fine.
Good morning. How are you, Ada? You're okay?
Rose is also a successful saleswoman for a tailor in town. Her boss, Paul Petrillo, thinks she's his best employee.
Paul immigrated from Italy in 1910. He had a lot of business sense. He opened a tailor shop. He was quite successful.
Rose and Paul make their customers very happy. Not from stylish garments.
This will fix your problems for good.
Thank you so much.
They sell a secret potion to wives with troublesome husbands.
The women would come to them
How are you, Maria?
Well, I have some problems.
and say, "My husband, he's no good to me. Can you do something?"
One of their best customers is 39-year-old Maria Favato. She's desperate for their help.
Maria had been with Charles for about 10 years now. The relationship was extremely rocky.
What, you started without me?
How dare you? We were waiting.
Rude witch!
He was an alcoholic. He was abusive towards her. He really wasn't a loving or devoted husband.
You don't have to put up with this.
Much to the horror of their tenant, Raphael. On August 5th, 1935, Raphael agrees to help Maria make her problems disappear. Using a sprinkle of Rose's magic potion.
What's this?
Charles was a baker. He came home early one morning,
Hungry?
and they fixed a big breakfast for him. Bottles of wine, a couple chickens, pots of coffee.
It was in his coffee they decided to put the supposed potion.
Clearly, Charles had no idea that his coffee had a little boost that morning.
Charles felt violently ill. And for the next 9 days, he literally suffered every day, going through these great pains. Then on August 14th, he succumbed and died.
Maria is thrilled with the results. She's just one of many satisfied customers lining up for Rose and Paul's secret potion. They are making a killing.
Maria and Rose were part of a very sophisticated, ongoing criminal enterprise.
I don't know that anybody's ever seen anything like this before.
June 29th, 1936, Philadelphia. successful saleswoman Rose Karina nurses her fourth husband, Peter Stay.
He suddenly felt violently ill. He got quite sick. He was vomiting and everything.
He died of a horrible death, which was attributed to gastroenteritis, as most of these were.
In those days, doctors weren't as well educated as they are today, and they didn't have the testing available they have today.
To the world, it is a tragedy. To Rose and her boss, Paul Petrillo, it's business. The pair stands to collect on Peter's life insurance.
After Peter's death, Rose collected a $500 insurance policy she held on her husband.
A woman doesn't have to be brilliant to see the benefit of a life insurance payout on a dead husband. She just has to be an opportunist and a psychopath.
Rose bid farewell to two other husbands the same way. With Paul's secret potion of arsenic. The potion is the heart of a poison ring, with accomplices all over Philadelphia.
He doesn't give me enough to feed us.
I might have a solution.
Like Maria Favato.
You need him to sign this.
To join the poison ring, members must first sign up a hapless male for life insurance.
Giuseppe.
What do you want, woman? I'm busy.
Sign up.
The poison ring chose their victims very carefully. They chose ignorant, illiterate men who wouldn't know what they were signing when they signed the insurance policy.
Now leave me alone.
The beneficiaries, poison ring members. It's a pyramid scheme of murder.
After setting up several of the policies,
the men would be poisoned.
and their husbands died a horrible death.
And then the poison ring would collect the insurance money that came from it.
Giuseppe! Giuseppe!
In bedrooms all over Philadelphia, members are murdering husbands and other relatives.
You had doctors, lawyers, medical examiners, all kinds of different people were involved in the ring.
There were 30, 40, maybe 50 people murdered. Most of the women killed only one person, except for two, Maria Favato and Rose Karina.
Come on, you must keep your strength. Come on.
Maria even kills her own stepson.
The poison ring became Maria's source of income, and she really didn't care who she had to target to keep that income coming in.
Every time a serial killer gets away with murder, they feel more and more invincible that they can do it again and not get caught. And so they do.
For 5 years, the Philadelphia poison ring is big business. Until the law catches up in 1939.
The ring got caught because one of the major conspirators was a counterfeiter.
And the men behind the operation sing like canaries.
As these guys began to talk, they pointed the finger at everybody they could think of.
They gave up Maria, they gave up Rose, they gave up, everyone involved in the poison ring.
There were 30 defendants, 30 people charged with murder.
But in Philadelphia's biggest murder case, not all perpetrators are treated equally. Ringleader Paul Petrillo pleads guilty and is sentenced to death by electric chair. Others, including Maria Favato, receive life imprisonment.
She was often referred to as the witch because of her involvement in potions.
But the law looks differently on Rose Karina. The businesswoman is smart enough and rich enough to hire a good lawyer.
She was more involved. She killed more people. There was more evidence against her than anyone else. And he convinced the jury otherwise.
Rose is acquitted of all charges. The serial bride is free to live happily ever after.
It was very easy for Rose to become a serial killer because she only cared about herself and money. Rose cared about Rose.
When these women walked down the aisle, they were wedded to murder. Katie Cook chose a deadly sin over an immoral life. Pauline Rogers ensured her husbands got their just desserts. And the widows of the poison ring concocted a potion for profit. These deadly women refused to love, honor, or obey. They were brutal brides.